The film begins with a lawyer named Virginia Ferrara, who is on her way to meet a defendant named Adriano. She tells him that she arrived earlier than scheduled due to some confusion in the procedures, as the police issued an order to arrest him again after he had been released on bail. Therefore, she has come now to hear his testimony in an attempt to find a solution to the case in which he is accused. Adriano welcomes her and tells her he will be ready in 2 minutes. Indeed, Virginia goes in and watches the news on television, which is talking about Adriano, the businessman elected as Entrepreneur of the Year, who is accused of murder and is now under house arrest. After that, Adriano comes and sits with her and asks how she can help him. She tells him that she learned the driver, who is considered a secret witness, has appeared at the public prosecutor's office, which is the reason his case has been reopened. Therefore, she asks him to tell her all the details without lying, and most importantly, to trust her, because she is his lawyer and her only task is to get him out of the predicament he is in. Adriano then begins to talk and says that he was in love with Laura, and that he had even introduced her to his wife. The two of them used to meet secretly at a hotel. Until the day of the incident, when they were together at the hotel after receiving a threatening call from a mysterious person who told them that he had seen them together and would expose them. He demanded money in exchange for not publishing the news and the photos he had. On that day, a mysterious person came up behind Adriano, struck him with a mirror, and killed Laura. When Adriano regained consciousness, he was shocked to find that Laura was dead and could not believe what had happened. However, the hotel guests gathered around him and restrained him until the police arrived and arrested him. He tells Virginia that he was ready to pay any amount of money to save his life with his wife and daughter, and to protect himself from scandal so he would not lose his business. At that point, Virginia tells him that something is missing from his story and that it is illogical. She says that if what he says is true, the people at the hotel stated that they did not see anyone enter or leave the room immediately before the incident. He replies that the person who did it may have been waiting in the room before they arrived, and after striking him and killing Laura, he managed to escape through the window without anyone seeing him. Virginia becomes irritated and tells him that she has been practicing law for 30 years and has seen many types of people, and that he is the kind who thinks he is clever, who tells a lie and then believes it himself. She then shows him a photo of a person in the newspaper and tells him that this person died in a car accident, and that Laura was accused in that crime. She asks him, who is this person, and what is their connection to him? Before he speaks, she reminds him that he must be honest with her if he wants to get out of the situation he is in. He then begins to talk and tells her that he deceived his wife into believing that he was traveling to Paris for work, but in reality he was with Laura in a cabin where they were spending a vacation. After they left the cabin and got into the car, driving through the forest, Adriano began talking to Laura and told her that he felt his life was falling apart and that he did not want to continue with her. He told her that the best solution for both of them was to stay away from each other, especially since they were both married. Laura became upset, but she could not find anything to say, so she told him that she agreed. While they were driving, they were suddenly surprised by a deer crossing in front of them in the forest. Adriano quickly swerved the car to avoid hitting it, and at the same time there was a car coming from the opposite direction. Its driver lost control because of them and suffered a very severe accident. Adriano and Laura quickly got out to check on him and found him covered in blood, saying that he was certainly dead. At that moment, Adriano became extremely nervous and could not control his emotions, and said that he would call the police to handle the situation. But Laura stopped him and told him that the man was already dead, and that if they informed the police, their affair would be exposed, they could be arrested, and their lives would be ruined for no reason. She convinced him to return to the car and leave the place quickly. They did return to the car, but it would not start. Adriano tried to start it several times, but all attempts failed and the car would not move. Suddenly, they noticed someone approaching them in his car. Laura asked Adriano to calm down and not make any sudden moves. She quickly got out of the car and went to the injured man's car, pretending it was hers, and moved him from the seat so he would not be visible. When the driver arrived and asked them what had happened, Laura told him that they had been in an accident and that the cars had collided. He offered to help or to call the police, but she told him that they were fine and there was no need to call the police. At that moment, the phone inside the injured man's car rang, and Laura said that she had forgotten her phone in the car because of her stress. She went to take the phone, pretended to answer it, and claimed that she was calling a tow truck. After that, the driver left, and Laura told Adriano to go and dispose of the body, while she stayed behind to try to fix their car so they could leave. Adriano says that at that time he drove the car for a full hour until he reached a river, and there he decided to dispose of the car entirely so there would be no evidence against them. After some time, he called Laura and learned that she had fixed the car. He told her where he was, and she came to get him. When he asked her how she fixed the car, she told him that she had stayed there for a while not knowing what to do and unable to call anyone. Suddenly, she was surprised by a man getting out of his car and approaching her. He introduced himself as Tommaso Garai and told her that he had worked at a dealership for this type of car in Italy and could help her. When he examined the car, he told her that fixing it would take time and that he would not be able to repair it immediately. Therefore, he offered that she go with him to his house, where he had a small workshop and could repair the engine right away. He began asking her what she was doing there alone and asked questions related to the car. She told him that she was on a trip and that the car belonged to her sister, and that she did not know much about it. He then tied her car to his and towed it until they reached his house. There, she met his wife, and he told her that he was going to fix this girl's car. Laura introduced herself under the name Raquel. The wife welcomed her and asked her to come in and sit with her until Tommaso finished fixing the car. She went in and sat with her, and the woman began talking about her son Daniel, who was supposed to arrive soon, and that they would all have dinner together. She offered Laura to join them for dinner. Shortly after, Tommaso came in and told her that the car was now working and that she could leave if she wanted, but he also offered that she stay and have dinner with them when Daniel arrived. At that moment, his wife said that she would call Daniel to check on him and find out why he was late. When she got up to call him, Laura noticed a photo of their son and was shocked to discover that he was the same young man they had hit and who had died. She became extremely nervous and wanted to leave quickly, but his mother called Daniel's phone, which was in Laura's pocket, so the phone rang and they heard its sound. When they said that the sound was coming from inside the house, they decided to call again to locate the phone precisely. Laura took advantage of their distraction and placed the phone between the sofa cushions. They became puzzled and said that Daniel never forgets his phone, and they began calling his friends, but everyone told them that they knew nothing about him. Laura was extremely tense and decided to leave them and depart quickly. After that, Adriano continues his conversation with Virginia and tells her that after what happened, he and Laura decided not to meet for a while, and each of them began living their life normally. However, Adriano was deeply affected when he saw the news of Daniel's disappearance on television, and that his parents still did not know where he was, and had sought the police's help to search for him. At that moment, Adriano receives a call from his lawyer Paolo. Adriano tells him that Virginia Ferrara is with him, and Paolo tells him that he is the one who sent her to finalize everything with him because he is currently traveling. He tells him that she is a very strong lawyer and will handle the case as if he were there himself, and that he can trust her. Adriano then continues talking with Virginia and tells her that after some time at work, he was surprised when a police officer came to him and told him that there was a missing young man named Daniel, and that the boy's father said he had repaired a car for a woman that day, and that this car perfectly matched the description of Adriano's car. At that point, Paolo intervenes and says that his client's car has been stolen for a week, and that they have the document proving this, but it has been temporarily misplaced. He tells the officer that he can bring it to him himself if he wants. The officer tells him that he believes him and asks Adriano whether he has any connection to that woman, then shows him a sketch drawn by the forensic artist based on Tommaso's description of Laura. Of course, Adriano denies it and tells him that it is the first time he has ever seen her. Paolo then says that this investigation is pointless, since there is no evidence against his client, and asks the officer to leave. They do leave, and Paolo tells Adriano that if he has done anything, he must tell him immediately so he can know how to act. Adriano then confesses everything to him and tells him that he deceived his wife into believing he was in Paris. Paolo replies that the officer can easily verify with the secretary that he was not in Paris at all, but was actually here, and that this will make him a suspect. Some time passes after that, and Adriano says that he saw news on television reporting that Daniel, Tommaso's son, had allegedly fled and embezzled a sum of money from the bank where he worked. Adriano then calls Laura to understand what is happening. They do meet, and she tells him that she took Daniel's wallet while they were placing him in the trunk of the car. She also tells him that she managed to access her husband's laptop, used Daniel's bank cards, hacked the banking system where he worked, and stole money so that it would appear as if he had run away, and no one would suspect that he was dead, thus calming things down for both of them. Shortly afterward, we see Adriano at a ceremony honoring the Entrepreneur of the Year. A security guard approaches him and tells him that there is a journalist outside who wants to meet him. Adriano goes out, only to be shocked to find Tommaso there. Tommaso tells him everything that happened to his son and says that he had been watching the woman who did it, discovered that her real name was Laura and not Raquel, and learned that there was a relationship between the two of them. He tells him, "My wife and I know that our son is dead. All we want is to know where his body is so we can bury him." Adriano replies that he does not know what he is talking about, that he does not know the woman he mentioned, and asks him to leave. Tommaso says that his son was probably thrown into the river, which is why no trace of him was ever found, and he keeps begging Adriano to speak and tell him the exact location. But Adriano insists that he knows nothing. At that point, security arrives, takes Tommaso away, and expels him from the ceremony. Shortly after, a threatening message arrives at Adriano's office from an unknown person, demanding that he bring a sum of money and meet him at a hotel, otherwise he will tell Adriano's wife and expose his relationship with Laura to everyone. Virginia then tells Adriano that there are 3 issues here. First, why did the killer choose this particular hotel? Second, why didn't he take the money with him after killing Laura, especially since Adriano was unconscious, if his goal from the beginning was to extort money? And third, how did he manage to enter and leave the room without anyone knowing, seeing him, or even being caught on camera? She then asks Adriano to continue the rest of the story, and she will try herself to find answers to these questions. Adriano continues and tells her that he went with Laura to the hotel, where they received a call instructing them to go to room 215. Before entering the hotel, he asked Laura to throw her mobile phone into a trash bin. Laura went up to the room first, and shortly afterward Adriano went up and made sure that no one saw him enter. Then he was suddenly surprised by the presence of someone in the room, who struck Adriano on the head and killed Laura. At that point, Virginia speaks and makes Adriano look at a photo in a newspaper, where he sees Tommaso's wife at the crime scene. Adriano is puzzled and asks her what she means. She tells him that if they follow this theory, then Tommaso was the one who blackmailed them, disguising his voice so no one would recognize it. He and his wife arrived early and prepared everything in the room. When he made Laura throw away her phone, he took it from the trash and sent a message from it to confuse them. He then hid in the room until Adriano arrived, struck him on the head, killed Laura, opened the money bag, and scattered the cash on the floor so people would think a thief had entered, distracting them and giving him the opportunity to take advantage of the chaos, open the window, and escape. After he fled, his wife came out and stood among the crowd pretending to be a bystander, to make sure that one of them was dead and the other arrested, thus avenging their son. She then tells him that there is another, much simpler solution, to place all the blame on Laura, since she is already dead. They will tell the police that Laura planned everything. They will take any of her personal belongings, such as her jewelry, and place them with Daniel's body. When the police find Laura's personal effects and Adriano testifies that she did everything and that he was in Paris at the time, he will walk away from the case without difficulty. However, she tells him that there is only one remaining problem: they do not know where Daniel's body is. Adriano likes the idea but says there is one issue: the driver who passed by during the accident and asked if they needed help could testify that Adriano was with Laura that day. Virginia tells him that no one knows where that witness is now, and that he has not appeared since the day of the incident. Adriano is surprised and tells her that she lied to him just to make him talk. She tells him that she is a lawyer, and her first and last goal is to protect her client and keep him out of prison. Therefore, she had to make him feel threatened so that he would speak to her honestly without lying. She then tells him that now he can trust her and asks him why he lied to her during their conversation. He remains silent for a moment, then replies that he could not trust her from the beginning. Virginia then takes out a map, hands him a pen, and asks him to mark the place where Daniel's body is, so she can send someone to retrieve it and place Laura's belongings with it. He marks the location, then takes the pen and puts it in his pocket. After Adriano trusts her, he tells her that he wants to say one last thing and confesses that when he was throwing Daniel's car into the water, he was shocked to hear him knocking from inside the trunk. He did not know that Daniel was still alive, but despite that, he pushed the car and dropped it into the water because he was afraid and did not know what to do, and that was the cause of Daniel's death. She tells him that she knew from the beginning that he was a cruel person with no mercy, and that this does not matter to her, because Daniel's case will be closed and Laura will bear the blame now that they know where the body is. She tells him that what matters now is knowing whether he truly killed Laura or not, so she knows how to proceed. Adriano then confesses to her that he was indeed the one who killed Laura with his own hands. The events rewind to show that Adriano was the one who told Laura that he had stolen the wallet from Daniel's pocket, and that he was the one who made Paolo and his men steal the bank's money. He also tells her that on the day of the incident, Laura was the one who was panicking and wanted to call the police, but he was the one who told her that their lives were more important than the life of someone who was already dead, and that there was no need to inform the police. Virginia continues speaking and tells him that she knew everything he was saying, but she wanted to hear it from him personally. She explains that over time, Laura began to feel guilty and was no longer able to live with herself, especially after the news spread everywhere. Therefore, she came up with the idea of blackmail in order to take money from Adriano and give it to Tommaso and his wife as compensation for what happened to their son. When Laura went up to the room first, she programmed her phone to send a message automatically after a certain time without her holding it. Laura began talking about the need to give the money to Daniel's parents, saying that she felt guilty and wanted to confess everything to the police, so Adriano decided to get rid of her. She tells him that Tommaso really had been watching him and Laura, had bought an apartment directly opposite his, and had been monitoring him all the time. She forces him to look out the window, and he recognizes the exact location of the apartment. She tells him that afterward, Tommaso came and asked her for help, which is what made her interested in this case from the beginning. Adriano is shocked and thinks that she is working with Tommaso and wanted to trap him, but she reassures him and tells him that she is now working with him, and that his lawyer Paolo is the one who sent her, so he should not worry. She tells him that she will go make some coffee so he can calm down a bit, and then they will return to finish their conversation. She leaves, and at that moment Adriano calls Paolo to thank him for introducing him to Virginia, telling him that she is excellent and that he confessed everything to her. Paolo replies that when he spoke to them earlier, he could not hear him or Virginia clearly because he was next to a helicopter. Adriano tells him that it does not matter and that she already handled everything with him. However, as he moves the phone, he notices interference. He looks at the pen in his pocket and sees that it has leaked ink onto his shirt. He is surprised to find that the phone experiences interference whenever it gets close to the pen. He becomes suspicious, opens it, and discovers a recording device inside. It turns out that Virginia had been recording his confessions the entire time. He remembers everything he said and all the confessions he made about everything he had done. The shock is even greater when he sees, through the window of his apartment, Virginia, standing next to Tommaso in the apartment across the street. She removes the contact lenses, the wig, and the mask she was wearing, and he is stunned to realize that she is actually Daniel's mother, not Virginia, and that he confessed everything to her, from his first crimes to the location of her son's body. He cannot believe what is happening and does not know what to do. At that moment, Tommaso calls the police and tells them that he knows where his son's body is, who killed him, and that he has a recorded confession. While Adriano is in shock and unable to move because of what he has seen, there is a knock on the door of his apartment. He is surprised to find the real Virginia Ferrara, who tells him that she has arrived at her appointment based on her conversation with Paolo. Adriano realizes that it is too late, and the film ends at that point.